Hello, this is Mark. I work at one of the Apple retail store. I am in the middle of flood crisis. I got stuck in my house. I couldn't go to work today because of the water level, but I'm willing to continue my journeys as your friend. Um, I have a very close friend in Thailand. She's 55 years old, I think. Quite old. She's like my mother. We've been very close friends for a long time. And um, me and her together, we've been trying to do some research about Steve Jobs' secrets and about Steve Jobs' spiritual life for a long time. But we were never sure about anything. And then, after the release of the official biography of Steve Jobs release, we read that book together and we trying to put things together about all the knowledge that we gathered in the past, and we trying to put things together. And we found two principles that Steve Jobs used all his life. First, Steve Jobs has something called beginner's mind. Beginner's mind. So let me give you an example. Have you ever watched a movie called 2012? And there was a priest on top of the Tibetan mountain, and he tried to teach his student, okay, by pouring water or tea into a glass, and then when the water filled that glass, therefore the water is full, so we cannot pour any liquid into the water, okay, or the water might drop to the floor. So if we empty our glass, that means we can start learning new things every day. We empty our glass, we wake up in the morning, everything we can learn. Let's say I'm a math expert, but things change very fast, rapidly every day. So if I think I'm so great, and I'm, let's say I stop reading things on the internet, stop researching, stop catch up with the news and update for Mac, I will be an idiot for a very short time. So Steve Jobs has these types of mind. It's called beginner's mind. That means every day that we wake up in the morning, we got an empty mind. The empty mind is ready to get more knowledge from all the sources that we can find. It's called beginner's mind. That is Steve Jobs. And secondly, Steve Jobs is a kind of person that if we trace back into the history, we found that in Steve Jobs' house, it's really a modest house. It's not a huge manor. It's just like a house, okay, built mostly with bricks, like a contemporary style or something. And Steve Jobs hung Albert Einstein's on the wall. Hung Albert Einstein picture on the wall. So I think Steve Jobs kind of admire Albert Einstein. And if we trace back into the histories that we found that most of the geniuses in the world tend to work alone. Steve Jobs is the kind of person that bring all the work, all the papers and idea back home and trying to figure it out by himself alone. Most of the Apple products like iPad, iPhone, iPod Touch, whatever, were designed mostly by himself alone. You know what? I read a book written by Peter Drucker or Tom Peters, or most of the management guru in the past, Brian Tracy, for instance, and Zig Ziglar. And I try to digest one types of knowledge is sometimes we have lots of committee around us, and then these types of committees trying to conduct a meeting. Let's say they want to conduct a meeting about an upcoming iPhone 5, about the designs of that one. Okay, and they decide to conduct a meeting, and at the end of the meeting, the head of that meeting might say things like, well, that's enough for today. We are going to come back next week. But at the end of the meeting, they have no clues what they're going to do next. So they're going to keep having meetings all the time without anything else. But not Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs works alone. He brings all the things, all the idea back home, trying to digest everything, trying to meditate, empty his mind, plot his experience, his instinct, and also his talent. Okay, only one thing that I had that I read an article on a website, I think CNN or something, because I read many articles. I read 10 websites a day at least before I go to bed, and they said Jeff Bezos is the next Steve Jobs. Well, this is pathetic for the one who wrote this. How can Jeff Bezos become the next Steve Jobs because he's not Steve Jobs? The thing is, Steve Jobs has the third thing called passions in what he do. It's not about money. It's not about want to feel significant, being an important person, and be on the front page of Time magazine. It's not like that. It's about passions in what he do. It's kind of like it's really a passion for that. So let's say many times then I trace back into the history that I found many times that Steve Jobs handled any complaint cases from the customers, and also sometimes Steve Jobs explained to the customer directly. So he got into it. So Jeff Bezos cannot be the next Steve Jobs at all. There are many types of leaders in the world. Long times ago, I read Henry Ford biography, and at that time, lots of people curious about Henry Ford's intellectual. They said Henry Ford was an uneducated man, and at a like some sort of press conference or something, I read and in the book said Henry Ford stood up and say, "Well, I don't have to be clever because I'm rich now. If you want me to answer you all the questions that you might ask me, then I have the money and powers to call anyone to answer your question now." But Steve Jobs is not that kind of person. He knows his products. He knows what he does. He knows what's his job. Let's say if someone might go and ask Steve Jobs about the specification of the iPad, how thick the wedgings of the iPad, the models, I think Steve Jobs can answer right away without thinking or asking for anybody to come and answer for him. So first, he has beginner's mind, and second, Steve Jobs is a true genius. Okay, he has what genius should have. He worked alone with his glass empty. Okay, and thirdly, he got passions in what he does. He got passion. So that's the thing. These are spiritual sides of Steve Jobs. For me, I think I kind of know what I'm talking about. Probably not the best, but not the worst. If you've been keeping up with my programs, you can see that I've been jumping in Apple, all kinds of Apple's knowledge and skills and everything that I could find. Even though as I lived in the slum areas of Thailand in Bangkok. I never been outside Bangkok before in my life because I couldn't afford that. Apple store in Thailand paid me less than $1,000 a month, but I got passion in what I do. I hope that what I told you might sparkle some ideas in your head, um, might ignite some idea. The thing is, if you follow Steve Jobs' spiritual sides, as I said, if you have beginner's mind, wake up and ready to learn new thing. And if you really try to work something and don't you never give up, and if you know what you do, it's like knowing your products. I think you'll be very successful in a very short time. And please kind of wish me luck for the flood. I'm in deep trouble because the day after tomorrow I gotta move because now I'm on second floor of my house. If I go down, the water is everywhere. I can't even go to work. So on the ground levels of my house, I got roughly about 50 centimeters of water. If it waits another week, it might be 1.5 meters. It's selfishness and bad water management. Thanks for watching.